Twins of Reddit, what's your embarrassing story involving your twins partner? My sisters are twins. Their favorite story is when one of their boyfriends tries to show the wrong twin this weird-ass mole on his butt cheek. Both sisters are extremely squeamish. So boyfriend thought it was just her being grossed out. Unfortunately, my dad walked in on him chasing the wrong twin around the kitchen with half of his butt hanging out. My dad just turned around and walked out. That boyfriend also had a thing for eating raw vegetables like onions, garlic, and potatoes. Edit. The raw vegetables thing was weird because he'd find them in the kitchen, and start snacking on them like they were apples or a cupcake. Garlic and onions are a thing, sure. But the potato was weird. He got the mole removed at both of my sister's requests. My sister and him broke up after she lost him at a mall and had him pages over the intercoms. He felt like a child? In her defense, he was on those little mall trains riding around and he had her car keys. They're still friends though. Sister's update on him. He's now a pediatric cancer doctor. He is a lovely weirdo and has since married a wonderful woman, has a full soccer team of kids. My sister and her husband had dinner with them last Christmas time. He really grew into his childishness, as it now helps him with his patients. Wife loves his silliness. He still eats raw potatoes though, so you can't win at everything. Edit 2. My sisters shared this to him. He says there's nothing wrong with eating raw vegetables, but the potatoes were originally a joke that started getting too big and became part of his identity. It made others laugh and made people around him open up more and be comfortable with you they were. Or so he claims. He says to do yearly mole checks. Have a friend or partner, but not your partner's twin, help you identify any concerning moles. Follow Abd on moles, asymmetry, border, color, diameter, evolving. And wear sunscreen. I'm not the twin, but I was dating a guy on and off for years, long distance, and eventually came to find out that the guy I had been on and off dating was fucking his twin brother and his twin brother's wife. I couldn't believe it at first, but then a whole lot of things started to make sense, the more I thought about it. I'd been friends with him a solid 15 years, and in that whole time he never really dated anyone but me. But he spent so much time with his twin brother and even more with his twin brother's wife. We're no longer dating. I'm not a twin, but dated one of two twin brothers in high school. The other twin also had a girlfriend at the school. One day, someone in my class pulls me aside to nervously tell me he thinks my boyfriend is cheating on me. He was fairly new at the school and didn't know yet there were twins. It gave us all a good laugh when the story got around and the guy was pretty relieved to hear there was no cheating going on. Not embarrassing, but my twin sister is dating a guy that friend-zoned me. Edit. I'll add some context. I really liked this one guy. Super nice and funny and smart, and he was pretty cute too. I confessed that I liked him and got friend-zoned. It stung and he stopped talking to me after that, which totally sucked. A month later or so my sister told me about the same guy and how they both liked each other. I was pretty sad about it, not gonna lie, but they've been dating for almost 3 months now and they're a cute couple. It does sting when she tells me how great they're doing and how he is always at our house, but she's happy, so it's okay. Edit. The 7th of October 2020, they broke up because he cheated on her with her friend. Guess I dodged a bullet. Not a twin, but I had a pair of teachers at my middle school who were identical twins. They tended to dress similarly, and I spent a lot of time confused as to how they could move around the school so quickly until someone told me there were two of them, and that they were twins. This was right before one of them got pregnant though, so I would have figured it out eventually. There was a fucked up story about the twins in my country. Two baby girls were swapped in hospital, and one twin came back home with other family. Their daughter stayed with her twin sister. Girls were completely different, but the family thought they are just not identical twins. They found out the truth when all three girls were in high schools. The real twins were constantly called differently and strangers would approach them and say hi. They lived in a relatively small town, so finally some common friends organized their meeting. Although they look identical, they are completely different people, e.g. one of them likes metal music and wears black clothes. The story didn't end up well, although they sued the hospital. Both families are devastated by the whole story. I'm not a twin, but my mum and aunt are identical twins. As they've gotten older I think they are more distinguishable, but from behind most people think they look exactly the same. My aunt and uncle were round for dinner and my aunt was in the kitchen preparing some food when my stepdad came in, hugged my aunt from behind and kissed her neck. All my aunt said was "wrong sister." Everyone thought it was hilarious, but my stepdad was very apologetic and embarrassed for a long time. Lamau. Edit. Wow, thanks very much to the person who gave me silver. I was very surprised to just wake up and see all the comments on this. I thought it was a pretty common thing that happens and wouldn't get too much attention. I told my stepdad about how many people commented and liked this and he was extremely embarrassed all over again, but he, my mum and I had a good laugh about it. He said that the reason he thought it was my mum was that my mum and aunt had the same haircut at the time and my aunt had put on my mum's jumper. Take what you will from that, Lamau. My dad was dating a woman for a while that was a twin, and the first time we went to her house for a family gathering Mother's Day, the twin was standing by the door, and when we walked up my dad hugged her and said "Hey babe" and was about to kiss her and she was like, "We're wrong person." I tried to date this girl from class and we were going out on dates and everything, but out of nowhere she stopped talking to me because her friends saw me with another girl, my twin sister, at the movies and thought I was playing her, but they didn't know I have a twin sister. My mom is an identical twin. She and her sister were always dressed alike and hated it, so one year for Halloween my grandpa took my mom costume shopping and my grandma took my aunt. When they got home they were so excited to show each other their costumes, but when they came out of their room they were wearing the same thing. Years ago I dated a twin out of a set who often didn't get along. They went to the same college, started out in very different majors, both ended up in E. By graduation they were dead set on leading separate lives, so they didn't tell each other where they were interviewing. First day at his new job, several states away, my twin was shown to the cube where his desk was. 6 feet away sat his brother. Edit. Another oddity, they each had an extra nipple, and when standing side by side, arms around each other's shoulders, it looked like there should be a third person between them. Separated, they had no idea how it happened. My grandpa called up the company handyman who put it back together. Couple days later, same exact thing, only my grandparents are pissed now. They got rid of the woodbed frames and got 2 metal cots with the springs, which lasted about a week. My grandma walks into their room and found one of the beds completely taken apart, each spring removed. The twins, though they were working together on the second cot, One of them was grabbing the fabric and pulling it to ease the tension, and the other was using the back of the plastic hammer to pry out the spring. They ended up losing tool chest privileges. My dad and uncle are twins. 2/3 times a year they'll show up to dinner or they'll be at each other's houses wearing the exact same outfit, only different brands. At first it was funny, but now we know it just happens. People mix them up all the time, multiple times a month they're telling people they're not the other, haha. Acquaintances and work associates have thought they're having an affair. My dad was confronted once and had to explain to the guy, who was a couple drinks in apparently, that he's not his brother. An actual story from when they were kids. They're almost 3 years and share a room with 2 wooden frame twin beds. That Christmas they got a plastic tool chest toy set thing. My grandma says it wasn't more than 3 weeks after Christmas when she goes into their room and the beds are completely taken apart, the head and footboard bolts were removed, the slats were removed, and my grandma and her sister were twins. Her sister was going to be a nun, so couldn't be involved in any affairs. Some guy asked the sister out, who sent my grandma in her place, tasked with ending the date poorly. I'd like to say there's a funny ending that the guy is my granddad, but he's not, he's just some random dude. I have been married to an identical twin for 10 years. I have been on Facebook for the entire time. Facebook always tries to tag her twin sister in any photo I have ever posted of my wife. Every single time. Never once has it suggested my actual wife. Like WTF. Wouldn't FB algorithm figure it out by now? My twin brother went out to pick up some wine and his girlfriend, at the time, came over and thought I was him. She was probably really horny, but without hesitating she began to kiss me, and it took me by surprise, to the point where I was frozen in shock. I was about to get her off me, but that was when he walked in. I was with my twin brother at the supermarket this one time, and judging from this story I'm guessing that obviously we look the same from the back, but not exactly the front because I'm a female. My brother's girlfriend was shopping at the same store as us that day and comes up behind me and smacks my bottom saying, "Hey love." Jokingly I turn around and say it back. The look on her face made me regret what I did. I'm not a twin, but I knew some in HS. There were these 2 identical girls who were your kind of typical slutty experimental girls, and they revealed to me they would practice making out on each other. Additionally, they shared a boyfriend at some point without telling him they were 2 separate people. But when he found out, he was real upset, because if they were lying about that, then what else was going on behind his back? My little brother and sister are twins and both of them have multiple flat spots on their heads, not noticeable through their hair. This is because before they were born they would headbutt each other inside of my mother. The doctor said a lot of the kicking she felt were actually headbutts. I've told this story before, but it's even more fitting here. My identical twin sister was dating the president of a fraternity on campus, and during one of the frat's date night events she went with her BF and I was set up as a date for one of his brothers. Towards the end of the night I got separated from my date, and my sister's extremely drunk boyfriend put his arm around me while sis was in the bathroom. BF leaned in to kiss me. Venue was super dark, so I think it was an honest mistake, so I backed up to set the record straight. He asked if I was down for a threesome with my own twin sister. I still feel bad for ditching my date, but shudders I had to get out of there ASAP. Ew, ew, ew. Oh, that kinda burns. I feel like with most identical twins, one is just slightly more attractive. She saw that photo and thought, Wow, he looks particularly good in this photo. I know a girl, identical twin. Her sister got a nose job, she got a boob job. They both act like yeah well she needed it. Meanwhile they looked fucking identical. It's fucking weird. Now one has a big nose and tits, the other has a small nose and tits. Both are perfectly happy. Twins are weird. Basically all of these stories are about identical twins. I'm a guy who has a twin sister and we don't look anything alike. I'm a dead ringer for the guys in my mom's family, and both my twin and little sister favor my dad's family. On top of the obvious low effort lol you fucker twin bullshit, it really has only been a positive for me. I'm pretty awkward and having someone to always talk to and someone around to give me an excuse to start talking to girls etc. was always a big plus. We made our own language when we were little and have so many memories. Not a twin, but I was dating one. They shared a bedroom, we were at an age that we'd still live at home. I walked in on my twin, fresh out of the shower. She was butt naked and stood with her back to me, so I walked up and grabbed her from behind, pulling her closer to me when she asked. Alwyn _ Wrong twin. Our secret. Yeah. Sorry about that. Bye. Not a twin. Dated a twin on and off for a while. In middle school, I would get a call from my boyfriend. We'd chat for a bit and then he'd have to go so his brother could have his phone time. These were the days before cell phones. Then we'd hang up and I'd get another phone call a minute later. From my boyfriend. Turns out the first call was from his twin brother. Boyfriend would get pissed. He tried that a few more times. Then I learned to tell their voices apart. Edit, thanks for my first silver. I dated an identical twin back in high school. Her sister had recently broken up with her boyfriend. The ex-boyfriend and his mom were walking through the park and saw my girlfriend and I kissing. Without the slightest display of emotion, she turns to her son and says, so that's why she left you. Me because it's faster than explaining. TL, Doctor, I can't visually tell the difference between identical twins, but I can tell the difference between sincere and insincere hugs. Also, now that I know, even though they appear identical, it's easy to tell the difference. Only tangentially related to topic, but I feel like sharing. On my last day as manager of a restaurant, a new girl was hired. I continued to drink there, and she and I got to know each other a little. Mostly just drink and smoke. Gave her a ride here and there. Texted and such. Went on for a year. Then I started seeing her fairly frequently at a new place. She'd always hug me, and seemed genuinely happy to see me. It was nice. I could feel real affection in her hugs. One day I saw her, and everything seemed like usual, but I didn't feel anything when we hugged. I was confused, but I figured maybe it was my imagination since I hadn't done anything wrong. TVH, it really bothered me. I thought about it all week. Then the next week I saw her with her identical twin. I was surprised, and very relieved. Turns out it happens all the time and her sister plays along as if she knows. While we wait for serious replies, how many sets of twins did you guys have at your school? In elementary school, there were 3 sets of twins and 1 set of triplets in my grade. Pretty insane. Edit, I believe my class size was around 100 or so. My brothers got their pictures in the paper of one of 9 sets of twins in their elementary school. They thought it would be fun to do a mirror image with one twin on the right and other on the left of the center line. My brothers were relegated to the outside edge of the pic with a boy/girl set of twins. We could not even find shirts that matched for the picture. They were different sizes and had different interests and friends. The least twin-like twins I have ever encountered. One of my good friends in college, we'll call her Ellie, has a twin sister, we'll call her Sister. Sister had a boyfriend while Ellie was blissfully single. We were all over at Sister's place making dinner together and having some beers. Ellie went to grab something out of the fridge, so her back was to the room. Sister's boyfriend walked by, gave her a casual but firm butt grab and went on his way to the counter to, chop something. Ellie gasped and turned around. The room stopped. We all just stared and waited for boyfriend to notice he'd grabbed the wrong twin. You could see the exact moment he realized Sister, his girlfriend, was not, in fact, at the refrigerator. She was on the other side of the room. He slowly looked back down at the cutting board, he couldn't even process the shame. He apologized profusely. Ellie was horrified for a second, but after she realized it was an honest mistake, she thought it was funny. He literally could not make eye contact with her for a week. Edit, spelling. My girlfriend told me about a production of Twelfth Night that was able to cast identical twins for the main role. At one point one of them walked off one side of the stage and the other walked on from the opposite side in a different costume seconds later. Most of the audience just thought they were doing really fast quick changes. In the version they used for the DVD, a guy in the audience near the camera very loudly said, "What the fuck?" When this happened. Who was it in the photo? Mike Jones. I first heard that rapper while riding in an LMTV, big military truck, in the middle of northern Iraq with my future husband and another guy. The other guy was playing the music. My future husband's name was Mike Jones. So, when we heard this guy saying Mike Jones over and over, it was pretty WTF. Best part, it was just before the single would actually blow up. The guy who was with us was really into underground, undiscovered hip-hop. He's my ex-husband, now, but the jokes were cute for a few years. Not embarrassing, but my geography teacher has a twin brother, and when he left a few people without a grade, meaning they had to take summer exams, a few of the kids gathered and broke his twin brother's nose and gave him a black eye. They were pretty surprised to see him the next day without a scratch. Slightly off topic. I knew some identical twins who were both in the trades. One a plumber and the other an electrician. Once in a while they'd end up on the same job site. They would steal each other's work shirts, wait for a foreman to tell one of them to complete a task. Then "fuck you, I'm not doing that," and walk away. Loved working with those two, they were a good time. I feel like this should say identical twins. There's not much fraternal twin partner shenanigans. Fraternal twins are twins too. I used to volunteer at an after-school program, where there was a pair of young, kindergarten/first grade, fraternal twins who looked really similar, but had completely opposite personalities. Somehow the adults never figured out how to tell them apart on site, even though there was a really strong incentive to do so, since one was a total sweetheart, and the other would literally bite you. I was friends with this girl a while back and she had an identical twin sister, impossible to tell apart. They always dressed the same, had the same haircut or style, everything was the same. The only difference is that one was the sweetest girl you could ever meet, and the other was basically Satan. So one day at school I thought that Satan wasn't there that day because I didn't see both walk in that morning, so I go up to the sweet one to ask how her day was going. Next thing I know I get slapped in the face as hard as she could. I was like, what the hell did I do? Then she started laughing her maniacal laugh when she is pleased by hurting someone. That's when I realized that it was Satan the whole time. Later that day I told the sweet one what happened and she just starts laughing like I was joking. Then she tells me that she is really sweet, she's just mean to guys she likes. Needless to say, that was the last time I ever got those two mixed up. I fancied a twin in high school and couldn't realize why in one class she spoke to me yet in another didn't know what the fuck I was on about. It took me 4 months and just bumping into them both on the walk home and I literally went, there's two of you. I am a twin, and if someone went up to me and said, twin, will you go out with me? I'd laugh and tell them their mistake. Not assault them. On one hand, it sucks being called the wrong name, and people really should know better. On the other, borrowing a phrase from our millennial overlords, it be like that sometimes. If there was a talking doll of me when I was a kid, when someone pulled the string, it would say, I'm not, twin, I'm, insert caffeine. It was the thing I said most often. And, that's just how it goes. Totally not worth hauling off and slapping someone. We saved that for when the other twin was getting bullied. Smile? My best friend, Dan, is an identical twin. His brother, Jason, is in active addiction. He's stolen from anywhere and anyone he possibly can, and has burned all his bridges. It eventually got to the point where Jason essentially stole Dan's identity. He was able to hack into Dan's bank and PayPal accounts, transferring money into his account, and even opened up credit cards in Dan's name. Since Dan lived in NJ, and Jason lived in SC at the time, it was hard to get the police to do anything, and the banks weren't of much help either. My mom isn't a twin, but she and all 6 of her sisters look identical. Grandma was a photocopier. They also all still live within the same neighborhood where they grew up. Going food shopping with mom was the worst. Not only did you have to stand by and wait as she chit-chatted and caught up with all of her friends, but also all of the other 6 sisters' friends who thought she was one of the others. Afterwards she would call up each sister and catch them up on the conversations so they would know what the person was talking about when they saw them next. I work with identical twins who are entirely nonverbal, with an identical diagnosis, and have almost identical names. Similar to Aubrey and Audriana in closeness. This is my 4th year with them. I still don't know which is which. I usually just say both names when I'm telling a story and say I don't know which one it was. Not really a partner story, and also not a twin, but something funny that happened when I was in high school. In Votech, one of my classmates had an identical twin brother. One day they decided to switch places in their classes and see if their teachers noticed. The second my teacher walked into the room, he looked at the twin and said, "Get out of my class." He stood up, and asked how the teacher knew. He said, "I just saw your brother at his locker in the hallway." Plus there was the fact that he didn't sit in the seat his brother usually sat in, and their hairstyles were slightly different, but enough to see a clear difference. My twin and I went shopping for eyeglasses. We were in a store that had multiple massive rooms filled with different brands of eyeglasses. We spent roughly 3 hours picking our ideal frames, independently of each other. We sit down to pay, and the teller says, "Oh, that's so awesome, you chose the same pair," and sure enough, it was identical model, one in white, one in silver. Out of thousands of lenses. We have more similar stories, but this is one that stands out. Am a twin, fraternal. Have dated an identical twin twice. This first time his twin developed a sixth sense for incoming romantic attention and would hunch his shoulder before / whenever I walked up behind him. The other guy claimed he couldn't possibly date just one woman because he had just found out his twin was gay and he needed to make up for it. Yeah, we didn't date after that. Both times our parents thought his was so perfect. I went to a funeral of a friend's father. I had no idea that the deceased had an identical twin. It felt really strange to see the guy in the coffin sat at the front row of the church. I had friends who were identical twin sisters, even down to their voices and mannerisms, and one of them recently died. I wasn't really close with them anymore and didn't find out until several months after her death. And all I kept thinking when I found out was how tragic and strange it must be for her parents to look at their surviving daughter and also see their deceased daughter looking back at them. I like when people see me and my twin together. They always ask, "Are you guys twins?" My favorite reply is to say, "No, I honestly just met this guy while shopping today and we hit off immediately." Sister reference.
Hey guys, this is the Rogue YouTuber here. I recently had a big change in my life. I had a baby daughter. Here she is. If you could do me a favor and remember to hit the subscribe button and bang the bell, I'm hoping to really create a YouTube channel that really gets people excited and brings people the best, most interesting content collated from across the internet. I'm saving up to save my little girl to Carnegie Mellon Computer Science Department. So please remember to like and subscribe. See you next time.